Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Eater's Digest. With me, as always, is Willow North. Willow, I usually keep a stack of poker chips as like a fidget toy at my desk. And ever since last week, I've just kept this, spinning it around in my hands. So I have Eater's Digest to thank for that.
That's the third host of Eater's Digest.
Yeah, it's just I can't get on any other video calls and forget that this is not like a known object because I'll just be like sitting there just like, wait a minute.
I think that's a power move, honestly.
Yeah, it shows off how dangerous I really am.
Exactly.
What's in the news this week?
All right, first up this week, we have Shake Shack has been named the most overpriced fast food in America. In a recent study done by Preply, an online language tutoring marketplace, Shake Shack was found to be considered the most overpriced restaurant chain, according to their analysis of nearly 60,000 Google reviews from over 10,000 restaurants nationwide. This study focused on the presence of keywords and phrases such as overpriced, ripoff, and more. However, despite this reputation and raising menu prices by around 3% in 2024, Shake Shack still saw a 14% revenue increase in the last quarter, indicating that their premium pricing is not deterring loyal customers.
This is really fascinating because it's from a language tutoring marketplace. And I think that does shine light on the idea that language has a big role to play. I know something I've complained about a lot in 2024 was how the word scam has sort of lost all of its meaning. People say that something is a scam just because the margins are really high. That's not what I understood scam to mean previously. And I think that when you talk about pricing, this study done by Preply shines light on this idea that there's data and then there's sentiment. And when those two are mismatched, I think it might be a little wiser to go with the sentiment. That goes for like overall sentiment about the economy, even though the data says that our economy is really good and thriving right now. And it goes for fast food cheeseburgers where there's a devout user base or customer base, and yet 10,000 people complaining about how it's overpriced.
I think that it's very interesting to see a study like this come from a company like this. At first, when I figured out what Preply was, I was kind of like, what are you doing? Why are you making a study about this? But the way that they've gone through it and kind of used keywords to figure out this sentiment about the restaurant is really interesting to me. And there's another interesting kind of language part of this that I have kind of fixated on. And that's the use of the phrase fast food. The original study from Preply uses the phrase chain in regards to these restaurants. They studied both regular, like family-owned restaurants and stuff, in addition to chains, and they had like a subcategory for that. And every single article that I'm seeing talking about these findings is using the phrase fast food instead of chain. And my question for you is, do you think that something like Five Guys, Chipotle, Shake Shack, things like that, where it's not necessarily a drive-through situation and is more fast casual, do you think that that counts as fast food? Is that a subcategory or is that its own thing?
Before restaurants like Chipotle became popular, there was this idea of fast food being burgers and pizza and donuts. And then Chipotle comes along and it's like, well, this could be fast, but still casual, but still somewhat healthy. Like it doesn't have the connotation of what fast food was. But that being said, I think before there was Chipotle, there was Subway, where you're picking out exactly what you want, and it's advertised as fresh and more natural and more healthy, and that was still largely categorized as fast food. So I think that it's a more specific category, but still, above all, fast.
I would agree there. Personally, I do have a hard time reckoning with that, because I think comparing somewhere like Shake Shack to somewhere like McDonald's is really difficult, and it kind of muddies the water of what is expensive fast food. Because I know that in the last couple years, people have been complaining a lot about how expensive McDonald's has gotten, and they've released all these incentives so that people really have to buy stuff through their app in order for it to be like affordable fast food. And I think that there is a difference there, and I don't know that is that important to this study, but it's something that I've kind of fixated on because of the language concept of it.
If Shake Shack being fast food freaks your gourd, I implore you to look at the Roku channel original documentary about the restaurant called Chain. It's a restaurant built on referencing chain restaurants like KFC and Panda Express, but celebrities go there and it's like an exclusive LA thing. It's really mind-defying stuff. It it like threw me into a spiral for weeks after watching it because none of it makes sense. It's like, it's not chain food anymore. None of the stuff that the proponents claim to like about chain food survive into the translation. It's something really strange to behold, especially because it's on the Roku channel, which I didn't know existed, and especially because the editing is really bizarre, where it's like two very obviously different events taking place and being presented as one event. John Legend shows up pretty frequently. It's probably the freakiest food media that I watched last year.
That is absolutely bizarre. I love it. I can't wait to watch that like tonight.
Yeah, that is my The Room.
U.S. Surgeon General is pushing for alcohol labels to address growing health concerns. U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy has recently called for alcohol warning labels to include information about the increased risk of various types of cancers. This comes at an influential time as the USDA and Health and Human Services departments prepare to update the USDA dietary guidelines for Americans. For decades now, consuming small amounts of alcohol has actually been considered beneficial to one's health under the existing guidelines. However, more recent studies have linked even occasional light alcohol consumption to an increased risk of certain forms of cancer and heart disease.
I guess my immediate response to something like this taking place is just, who will care? Like, truly, who is this going to affect? I think of the European style of cigarette labeling where you have those horrifying pictures of people's jaws rotting off and giant bold text that say, these will kill you. And it's just kind of cool, and it doesn't stop anybody who wants them. It's just makes it look a little bit more punk rock. I also think of the Pareto principle where 80% of the outcomes are impacted by 20% of the inputs. Let me show you this chart that suggests that the top 9th decile of drinkers consume 15.28 drinks per week, and the top decile consume 73.85 drinks per week. So this idea that they don't know that alcohol is poisonous or that this labeling will hurt the alcohol companies in any way, I don't think that that's the case, because so much of their success relies on just a few extreme alcoholics consuming a vast majority of their product.
I think that you've really hit the nail on the head there. I think that, sure, put the labels on there. It's great. I think that people, should be able to make educated, informed decisions about what they're doing. But I think for the most part, people that are consuming a really dangerous amount of alcohol are pretty aware that it is not good for them and are doing it anyways. And I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I do think that adding these labels is also not really enough to combat the years of like hearing your aunt tell you at Thanksgiving, like, oh, a glass of wine every day is actually really good for your heart. I don't think that it's going to be enough to dissuade the people who believe in that to give that up. But I also don't think that this is going to stop the average person from having a beer or two in their free time. You could argue that something like this has worked for cigarettes a little bit, and what you're talking about, cigarette smoking is down, but I think that the cultural attitude towards tobacco is entirely different than it is for alcohol, and that people are much less likely to give up a significantly mind-altering substance like alcohol.
Alcohol consumption is largely cultural, so I think in order to change the amount of consumption, you have to change the culture in a meaningful way. I don't think labeling will get that done. I don't think bureaucracy is very good at changing culture. Compare that to the fact that Gen Z seems to consume a lot less alcohol. That's a pretty big deal. The youth determine our culture a lot of times. Compare that to GLP-1 drugs catching on and having side effects like decreasing gambling activity or drinking or any other vices. These are the things that I think will make a significant shift, not so much labels. Although maybe if they started putting like nutritional facts on alcohol, it might be a little eye-opening how much sugar or fat is in stuff like rum chata. Maybe that would make a bigger difference.
After this break, we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by patreon.com/Shack. So fun fact, this show actually operates on a slight loss, but I'm able to do that because of the support from patreon.com/Shack. So if you are enjoying the show or anything else that we do, please visit patreon.com/Shack. You get a lot of benefits. Willow, you're a member of the Discord server now. How are you liking it?
I have a lot of fun in there. A lot of fun stuff goes on in the Discord. There's a cooking competition going on right now. You can ask for advice about just about anything you could possibly want, and somebody in there will have 50,000 recommendations for you. It's a fun place.
That is patreon.com/Shack, and you can even sign up for a free 7-day trial if you wish. See you there.
Fake it till you bake it, an emerging scandal in the micro-bakery community. Internet sleuths have recently exposed Jessica Stewart, known online as @microbakerygirl, for allegedly faking her microbakery in order to sell a $500 online course. Stewart appeared online seemingly out of nowhere in November, with the goal of selling an online course to her suspiciously fast-growing follower base, teaching them how to open their own microbakery just like her. The online baking community caught on quickly, though, pointing out innumerable inconsistencies in her story and digging up a slew of information about her and her husband's involvement in master resale rights courses, leading many to believe that Stewart is posing as the owner of a non-existent business and selling this course without any relevant personal experience.
Diversity win. Girls can be scammers too.
Girl boss.
What's really interesting about this is I only talk about this in like the tighter online circles of like other creators and other business owners, but I've found last year that a large majority of the business advice and information that was given to me last year was from female creators and YouTubers and business owners. Something about the way that they present information has resonated with me when it comes to like pricing or planning or really product design or photography or anything like that. Like the female perspective has been so much more advantageous to me than the male perspective. And I apply that to this as well, in that so many of the people who are looking into this Jessica Stewart micro bakery girl are like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to be fooled by this obvious scheme of yours. And I don't see that happening in like male centric businesses where it's like the Tates of the world. Like, I'm going to show you how to be a millionaire right now. Or like, I'm here in my garage with my Lamborghini. And it's just, this is really inspiring in the, I guess, the first half of this story is to say that like women business owners are really inspiring stories of success. And this story is a really inspiring way of catching a scam and turning it into a failure. All that being said, I don't like looking into this and hearing that this person might live in Scottsdale, especially because late in last year, you and I rejected a story about a different Scottsdale influencer restaurant scammer who was just stealing money from restaurants and then not leaving reviews on her TikTok. We ended up not covering that because it was a little bit too drama-y, a little bit too local, and I think we try to focus on like more national or global news. But I don't know, does this fall into the drama or the news category?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I certainly had not heard about this story until you sent me information about it. But as I started to look into it, I did see maybe half a dozen influencers, people that I follow on Instagram that do own micro bakeries and are professional bakers talking about this. And it is it's kind of on the down low for now, but I feel like it is very quickly gaining attention. And I think that while this may seem like more localized news, I think that this really affects people everywhere. I've seen lots of people in the comments of other creators saying that they were getting ready to sign up to buy this person's course. The course does not come out until I think the 13th or 16th of January. And it appears as though she has stopped promoting anything at all while this drama is going on. I spent a lot of time researching this story. I have 5 pages of notes here about crazy inconsistencies in this girl's story. I don't know if we could possibly get into them all on here, but it is crazy. It does sound like she maybe lives closer to you and not in Illinois, where she is trying to make people think that she lives. I would not even know where to begin in terms of addressing all of the weird stuff that seems to be going on in this. And it's just crazy to me that this sort of kind of predatory marketing behavior has, of all places, seeped into the sourdough home baking world.
Right. It strikes me as somebody who did a lot of research into emerging markets and picked a really perfect niche if it weren't for the fact that the types of people that she's targeting happen to be really smart, really sharp, and not trusting enough to fall for the type of scam that would work on somebody who would say, so what if that guy's like a notorious international sex trafficker? He's going to teach me how to be rich.
Well, I think the difference here is that, I mean, at least people knew who Andrew Tate was. I mean, obviously he's a scumbag, but at least the people who are buying this course had some idea of who this person is and what they claim to represent. This girl appeared out of nowhere on the internet and over several weeks amassed nearly 140,000 followers on Instagram. That certainly does not happen organically. I'm sure there was some follower purchasing happening there. It also sounds like maybe she had this Instagram account under a different name previously. This account is linked to another account that was called Cozy Girl Money by the same girl, where she was essentially shilling information about how to make money using master resale rights courses. It's the same thing her husband does. Her husband owns a $1 million company who focuses on selling master resale rights courses. It's giving scam. It does not feel good. I can't find anything about this that doesn't point to that this woman is lying every step of the way. The only thing I think she might not be lying about is her ability to bake bread, because it looks delicious. It looks like great bread. But as far as anyone can tell, she has never sold a single loaf of bread to anybody.
Right. There's not a whole lot of evidence that this person is legit, but in the end, I see this as a positive feel good story, specifically because it didn't end without her getting caught. Like, I think the fact that this is salacious, juicy drama worked in our favor this time, because if it was just a fake AI generated influencer that Meta created for the Instagram platform and artificially gave a sense of authority and realism and influence, which is currently happening for other subjects and other fake people. If it weren't for the fact that it's like a I caught you moment, this might have worked. And so I see it as a feel good story that it didn't.
I think I'm going to choose to have that outlook too. I think that that's much better than me sitting over here stewing, angry at this lady for trying to take people's money.
No, the only times I find myself sitting and stewing is when I feel like I'm the crazy one. Like, hello, why does nobody care about the fact that this is obviously a scam? But in this case, everybody agrees with me, and that's the best outcome I can ever hope for.
Well, let's see if we agree on some of these new products that are coming out right now. Right now, I have for you Loaded Oreos, Cheese Pizza Cheetos, and the Ben & Jerry's Scoopapalooza line.
When we first started discussing the structure of the show, I said we've got to put new products at the end so we can just name them, react very briefly to them, and then be done with them, because I'm so tired about talking about new products. And then you say like Loaded Oreos, and I go, hold on a minute, what are they loaded with?
They are loaded with more Oreos. This is an Oreo flavored Oreo with cookies and cream filling on the inside. In my opinion, I don't know that it will ever get better than that in terms of an Oreo. They are constantly funneling out these new flavors, but none of them are ever better than the original Oreo. So the only way to make a better Oreo than the original is to make it an Oreo flavored Oreo.
Is to make it recursive. The Oreo shelf at the grocery store is as close as we get to hell. So good luck to them, but I'll try it if somebody brings it over to my house, and not a moment sooner. What is the Scoopapalooza line? Well, first of all, let me just say Cheese Pizza Cheetos. How could it be bad? It's probably just like Cheetos with some oregano or something in it, right?
Exactly. I don't think there's any way that could be bad. I've had other cheese pizza flavored snacks. My only beef, though, is that I feel like a lot of these like cheese pizza flavored snacks use a cheddar cheese flavor. And I don't want cheddar cheese in my pizza snack. I want mozzarella cheese. I want Parmesan. Get with it, Cheetos.
Yeah, the local cheese expert will set you straight.
Oh no, I'm just making it worse for myself.
Tell me what a Scoopapalooza line is.
So Ben & Jerry's came out with 4 new flavors. They are larger containers. They are 28-ounce containers, not quarts for some reason. And they are strawberries and cream, coffee fudge chip, chocolate fudge swirl, and vanilla fudge brownie.
What makes that Scoopapalooza? Just the fact that you can take larger scoops out of it?
Yeah, it's just a larger format Ben & Jerry's. I love Ben & Jerry's, but I think that that's the weirdest thing that they could have named it. I also think it's stupid that it's a 28-ounce container. If you go on the Ben & Jerry's website, it literally has a tagline for it that says, like, why is it 28 ounces? I don't know. Don't ask us. Like, what do you mean, don't ask us? You made this.
Really bizarre stuff. Yeah. That's not even a pint and a half, is it? It's just like a completely arbitrary amount.
It's 4 ounces shy of a quart. The flavors are also really basic as far as Ben & Jerry's flavors go. My instinct, if I was working for Ben & Jerry, is that make a bigger container of half baked, make a bigger container of cookie dough. Why are we making vanilla fudge brownie? People aren't coming to Ben & Jerry's for vanilla fudge brownie.
Yeah. Well, my conspiracy theory is that there's something to do with the amount of front-facing, customer-facing space, and so they needed to make a taller container with more standard flavors so that they stand out more in the freezer aisle. But let me guess, each one of these is now like $15 each.
I don't even want to know. Ben and
Right.
Jerry's is like $6 at the grocery store. I don't even want to know how much the big container is.
Well, good. 3 skips from us this week. Although if somebody brings over some loaded Oreos, I won't be mad about it. My mother-in-law just asked if I had any more Shackalicious gummies when she was here yesterday, so that one was a certified hit that stuck with us. Thank you for another successful week. We'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.